teams with losing records and the Ravens playing them down the stretch. How do you keep them motivated week to week and not get caught up into that?
It's not even an issue. I mean, what's understood really doesn't have to be explained. You know, our guys are motivated to go win the game. This is a very good football team we're playing. They're very physical. They play really hard. Great running game, you know, downhill running game. Playmakers on offense, certainly. Obviously, and this defense just flies around. I mean, they got playmakers on every level of their defense. So we're going to have to play our best football to win this game.
John, I think we saw some T-shirts hanging in the locker room on Monday with a slogan on the back. Was that one of your ideas?
Yeah, that's a little more complex one. There's a history on that one. So you saw it. I'll have to. Yeah, you're not supposed to. But it's kind of a family thing. So we'll keep it inside the house right now.
John, with Baker Mayfield this week and Sam Darnold will be there this week too. If you go back, if you can, 5 years ago, what do you recall from that first night of that draft, the quarterback draft that year?
About the
Mayfield, Darnold, Jackson all get drafted in the same night.
I recall about it. We got Lamar. I remember that. That was big. Yeah. I remember all the coaches thundering down the hallway like a herd. You know, I could hear them because we're on the other side of the building when we got Lamar. So everybody was excited. I remember that. That's really what I remember. We got Hayden. I remember that.
John, when you guys were struggling earlier in the season in pass coverage, what were some of the things you tried to emphasize or highlight in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, I mean, well, right from then, it's probably the same things, Mike, we were working on, just in terms of doing things the right way and being in the right spot and eyes being in the right spot and all that. And we've obviously cleaned a lot of that up, but you're only as good as your next performance. But we were young. I mean, the guys that made the mistakes, so to speak, were the rookies. And Bill Parcells, he said he did one time. I'm not buying this necessarily in terms of the math of it, but the point was right. He said, for every rookie you start, you lose one game. That was an old Parcells deal. And it's hard. I mean, the game's different, especially in the back end, especially in the offensive line. Those guys have a lot to deal with. So we made some mistakes back there. Nobody got down on those guys. They didn't get down on themselves, and basically just required them to try to do things the right way. And those guys are good guys. They want to do things the right way. So those are just fundamental, basic errors that were made in the coverage. And you try to strive to do those things right, and they're doing a better job with it.
John, speaking about those rookies, I mean, we saw Kyle as the nickel a lot against the Saints. Do you feel like you guys have zeroed in on how to use him? He has that sort of unique skill set, and do you see him operating more decisively out there?
Yeah, yes to all those things. I mean, it's all right, and he's not going to be limited to any of those spots certainly in the future. But for right now, the way we're set up, the nickel and the dime spot are good spots for him. Those guys in some of our disguises and the way we rotate some of the coverages, the nickel and the dime run back and play deep plenty of times. So it all kind of is interchangeable. But yeah, he's done a great job and playing good ball, and we're not satisfied. We got to keep getting better.
Coach Carroll. Oh, John, I'm going to ask Lamar this as well, but do you think there was ever a point, going back to that 2018 draft, when he goes up against any of the quarterbacks drafted ahead of him, do you think that serves any motivation?
I think going to ask Lamar that is a really good idea. It'd be a great question for Lamar. I really don't know. I have no idea.
Coach, Carolina's front seven, Brian Burns, 7 sacks. How are you seeing them bringing the pressure against the quarterback?
Burns, I mean, and not just him. I mean, they got 98 on the other side over there too. So 53 and 98. These two guys are edge rushers, speed edge rushers. They both got great counters. You see a spin move out of Brian Burns. We're gonna have to do a great job blocking those guys. And then inside they get great push. And number 95, you seen him? I mean, this guy, knocks the inside of the pocket back down. So I think that pass protection is going to be a huge part of this deal.
John, since the Panthers traded Christian McCaffrey, they're averaging over 150 rushing yards per game. What are you just seeing from the run game?
Well, I tell you, number 33, Foreman, I've seen him a lot. I've seen him running down the field a lot, and it's mostly downhill runs, right? And he's a physical guy and a physical offensive line. Mostly gap combo blocks and zone combo blocks, inside zone and what we call the duo play, just coming downhill at you is what they do. And then they've got play action passes off it. They run boots. They'll bounce it every now and then. But a lot of RPOs, where they're going to read inside with the inside zone play. And if you stack that too much, they pop it outside to number 15 or number 2, and they're running the wide screen. So So it's a good little thing they got going.
Another one of their weapons, DJ Moore. Just what do you see from him when you watch him on tape? And if you can think back to the draft, was he a guy that you guys like coming out of Maryland?
Yeah, I mean, pull out my draft list. I probably got it right here, like where we had him ranked. But I do remember we liked him, and he was in here on the draft visit. We loved DJ Moore, and that was a guy that we talked a lot about, and he's thriving. He's one of the best receivers in football. But he's a great route runner. He runs all the routes. He'll block. He runs the wide screens. He's kind of public enemy number one outside, along with Chenault. So he's doing a great job.
John, the NFLPA put out a call recently to improve the turf at some of the stadiums, including a couple you guys played at this year. Is that a step in the right direction, do you think? And is it realistic, do you think, to have every team go to grass potentially?
I don't think the PA said that.
Yeah,
that wasn't specific.
A couple players on their own kind
Aaron
of
Rodgers
suggested that.
I had my say on that. You remember? You go back and pull my quotes. Think I'm just going to leave it at that.
Do you guys have any issues with New Orleans? That was another one on the list.
No, we didn't with New Orleans. New Orleans, it was we had no problems with that.
John, any update? We didn't see Mark Andrews out there. Any update on him?
Mark ended up coming out. We warmed him up a little bit longer, and he had 3 or 4 periods out there. So that was that. Armour Davis had a little thing in special teams. Muscle deal, so we'll see how that goes, see how he responds to that. I haven't seen what happened, but he started, then he came off. Gus was out there.
So Mark was limited out there.
Mark was limited, right.
John, to see a lot of units on offense really ramping up heading into that bye with the offensive line playing well, Lamar playing well, the running backs. Just how excited are you for what this offense can do over the season second half?
Well, I mean, I've always been excited about what the offense can do, but I do know that we have a lot of work to do. I mean, we're just in a situation where we're trying to get better at everything all the time, and every game is kind of its own different kind of an entity, but we're chasing execution. We're trying to be, efficient with everything we do, run and pass. We kind of know what we got to work on and try to apply it to the game plan that we're and the defense that we're facing, and within all that, try to improve every week. I mean, as you get into the season, each game becomes more important just by the virtue of the fact that it's later in the season, especially if you're winning. And, we've got to keep getting better each season or each game throughout the season to get where we want to go.
Coach, off of that, stacking those 3 wins before the bye, how important was that, and will it set the tone for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, it was really important. It was 3 wins. I mean, it just made the difference between being, 3-3 and 6-3. But the main thing now is to get to 7-3, and that's what we're thinking about.
Coach, is this the Ojabo debut this weekend?
We could. It's possible. He's looking better and better out there. But again, remember, and I put him in the same category with Charlie, they had nothing really stacked up until like 2 weeks ago. So they both look really good. I think they could both play. And if we have an opportunity to put them out there, we will.
John, you mentioned a few weeks ago about the nickel cornerback position. You wanted to get that more solidified. It seems like Stevens and Pepe Williams are still pitching in. Is that any closer to getting solidified?
Well, if solidified means like just one guy being out there the whole time, I'd say probably no. And we're probably not going to be there, this season. I think we've kind of, you mentioned Kyle Hamilton before playing nickel. We're probably going to do it by personnel group and, just circumstances in the game plan and move those guys. You see Marlon in there. He'll probably continue to go in there. So I think we'll be moving guys around.
Like with Gus Edwards, how important was having this time off in the bye beforehand? Just because I know you had mentioned that he was on the fast track of recovery, and if something happens, he'd be on the slow track. Where do you see his progression as of now?
Well, yeah, he was out there today limited, so, I'm hopeful. I mean, you just never know. I mean, I think I was planning on being back this game, and we'll see if he makes it. All right.
Thanks.
Thanks. Appreciate it.